Hi, Recovery Girls. Misty here. I'm just back from a weekend in California, Southern California, with my husband and our two youngest children. He had a work thing this weekend, and we were just thinking, since it was a long weekend at school, maybe we could spend a few days and hang out with Dad while he did work. We would play. So took my kids to the pool, and it was really sweet time. It's very cold here in Indiana where we live, so we were really looking forward to the sunshine and the warm weather. So, but it did come at a little bit of a cost. My son was already sick, and we didn't realize that he was going to get worse. I was hoping he was on the upswing. Actually, when we took off on Friday night, we left the house at about 4 p.m. and went to the airport. And when we got there was a delay going into Orange County, actually. So on the connection, there was a delay. So there was a dent in the tail of the airplane and something, I don't know, they had to do maintenance on it. Well, whenever there's something wrong with the airplane, I get a little bit of anxiety, just a little bit. And I just kind of pray a little bit that things are going to work out. But you know, I've got enough recovery that I didn't get too freaked out by it. I just thought, well, the pilot wants to stay alive too. The crew doesn't want to be blamed for missing the problem. So I know the maintenance is going to be working really hard to make sure that they correct the problem, whatever it is. They had to take measurements, and they lost the papers. Anyway, it turned into this big, long thing. First they had to fix the problem, then they had to fix the paperwork. And by the time they got all the paperwork squared away so that it would be okay for us to fly, we were up against the night curfew for flying into Orange County, which is where we were going. So then that was a thing. We didn't know whether we could take off because we didn't know where we were going to land and if they were going to just cancel the flight or divert us to LA. So they finally said that we got a 15-minute extension to go to Orange County. So that was great. We took off. We're back in business, and it had been, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours of a delay at that point, just sitting on the airplane on the tarmac. So we're ready to land in Orange County, and we've got our 15-minute extension on the curfew. We're right up against the clock, barely gonna make it, and fog rolls in. So they get on the system and tell us, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to divert to LA. Fog just rolled in. Then they got back on the system and said, hey, guess what? The fog lifted like 1 second after they gave us the initial announcement. They said, we're going to go in for landing. So all of a sudden, we were in our descent and heading in for a landing. But that didn't last long. We took off again. We never landed. We rose back up, and they told us we were going to have to actually divert to LA because, again, the fog had rolled in. So it was very bizarre. And the people were just going wild on the airplane. They were shouting, they were cursing, they were cheering when it was good news. They were, all sorts of upset when it was bad news. So we did get diverted to LA. Well, that meant that everybody was going to have to ride the bus, get their luggage, ride the bus for another hour back from LA to Orange County. Thankfully, my husband was able to drive the extra bit because he was already in Orange County, and so he picked us up and we didn't have to deal with that. But at that point, my son had a terrible fever. It was just a lot of things, that could have been really upsetting. But what I noticed, I say all of that to you to say I'm so grateful for recovery. Because of this program, I was able to keep it together with two little children that had been on an airplane for hours and had more and more travel. It ended up, we landed, it was 4 in the morning on our clock, on our Indiana clock. So 1 a.m. in California when we finally got to land, and then had another hour drive back from the airport. So it was a long night. It was not what I would have chosen for my sick little boy with a fever. And my little girl she just was such a trooper. They both just really hung in there. But I saw all these other people on the airplane getting so worked up. They were mad. They were just tossed by the waves, you know. And I noticed that I had an awareness, at least, that all of those things were beyond my control. It's not that I didn't feel upset just like they did. I did. I felt very upset. I was, you know, but I didn't lose my serenity. That's a gift in our program. That's a miracle. You know, it's scary to be up for that long. It's scary not to know how's this going to turn out. But to just trust it's going to be what it is. I don't have control over those things. What I do have some choice in is how I'm going to respond to what's happening. And I can encourage my children to just breathe and let's do the next right thing. Let's color. Let's get a drink of water, get up and stretch our legs, you know, and just be present and enjoy them in that moment. And if I would have been all worked up and upset, I guarantee you my children would have too. And we all, and the passengers, would have had a worse time. So recovery is a gift, not just for us, but for others in our lives that we affect. And, you know, it doesn't always work for me. Some days I lose it, you know, I lose my cool too. But this time was just a real sweet gift. And we had a very special bonding time, my two little children and me, that I cherish. And that we got through that together, and it was special. So I pray for you today, whatever your struggle is that you're getting tossed around by, to stay in the program, stay in serenity, guard your serenity, surrender what we can, our will to our higher power, surrender the will to protest, and just practice acceptance that it is what it is, and it's going to be okay in the end. We're going to make it. And I just bless you today, and I pray courage for you. I pray the knowledge of God's will for you and the power to carry that out. Stay the course in recovery. I'll be on it too.